were right on time, by the way. You were taking 51 minutes before, but that included the introduction. So you're perfect in time. So I'll be quick. One thing that you only touched on was armoring of the lake shores. And a suggestion that's been made is that all the problems around waves about effect on the lake shore will be solved if everybody armors their shore. And what's your reaction to that?
Well, having been a lake owner for 40 years on North Lake and now Lake Monoman, which is not a nice lake, by the way, it's expensive. Why can't the owner of the vessel go further out and not make me spend $10,000 to put rocks in?
Something that I've read is that when the wave hits the shore, it doesn't just die there. It comes back, rebounds, and scrapes the bottom.
Yeah, Charles and I said we're neighbors on North Lake, on the Little Lake. One of the things, we're both sort of curious types, right? So the North Lake, Little Lake is 104 acres. It's about a half mile across, not even that. We noticed when wakeboard boats are operating on both sides of that lake, they've got waves going back and forth. No one has studied yet that we know what is the impact of the interaction effect. So it hits the shoreline, goes back out the other way, hits the shoreline on the other side, goes back out the other way, meets in the middle, produces more energy. It's not been studied. So I don't want to say anything about it because it's just a hypothesis, but it would be certainly something to investigate. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
I think you were next.
Yeah, my question is, what effect does the water turbulence have on suspended fish, i.e. big fish, juvenile, and adult fish? And secondly, what long-term effect will this have on the ecosystem of the lake?
Yeah. Okay, good questions. Fish impact first, then ecosystem of the lake second. I'm not an ichthyologist. Right. What I do know is that fish are like people. They like to feel safe. So they like to be in places where the habitat protects them and covers them and they can hide. We're talking about effects that take that away. Will it have an impact on game fish? Perhaps. You can extrapolate.
The question is more of the suspended fish, say bait fish, and that will come over the top of them and say they're down 12, 15 feet. Will that turbulence potentially kill that school of bait fish, or do they have time to move out of the way?
Well, there's impacts. Other studies have demonstrated fish bed impacts, right? So their habitats are harmed. In shallow water, the nesting of the fish, the eggs, they're just gone. They're just destroyed. No. Lake, second part of your question was lake ecosystems. Draw your own conclusions. There you need a hydrologist. Yes, ma'am. Oh, wait. Yeah. Go ahead, Blue.
I have. Go over again those definitions. I forget who you said the definitions were by about the certain zone areas. I'm especially curious about the amount of acres. You know, because I know the websites of the big sport people say repetitive passes are bad. So I was curious to know what is the acres, and I know you did say it was at depths greater than 20 feet, but if you could go over those attributes of what the search zone are, and whose definition was that again?
So you'll find that definitional language from the last Wilderness Alliance here in Wisconsin. And if you go out to the websites from Vermont, the group that has been the center of gravity on getting the legislation changed in Vermont, I think they were responsible waves, something like that. Jack Witness is the fellow. If you get me afterwards, I'll get you a reference. And ma'am, you had a question too.
Yeah, if anybody's been on Lake Beulah, we have a bench out there. My father put it out there about 1950. It's shallow water. It's quite a ways out from shore. Everybody enjoys it. It's a landmark now. And we still put it in and out every year. But during the summer now, this will be the third year, that is sunk 3 feet down. That will come out and start floating away, and we have to Never happened before. So it's been within the last 3 years. So that's how it's moving, the lake, and that's far away from the shore.
Okay, and so as you heard me say a couple times, we're very careful about what we say. I don't know why that would be happening. We didn't study
I
it.
don't either, I don't have proof.
But trust your eyes.
So we are going to have a question and answer session after the presentations, and we also have post-it notes where people can jot their questions down and we can kind of organize and assemble them. I would like for us to keep going. If one of the board members could take the post-it notes around, if people have a specific question, they could jot it down and we'll collect them and we'll use that for the question and answer session. I would like Bonnie and Sean to come up on stage. We were very fortunate to have divers available for when we did the testing on Lake Beulah. And we thought it was very important for you guys to hear from them directly what they experienced, what they felt, and what they saw. So, okay, I'll back up, I'm not important. And I'm gonna give Bonnie the microphone because I'll just speak loud. I'm just gonna ask some questions. First off, if you guys could tell us a little bit about your background and why you volunteered for this particular project.
Well, I got certified as a diver in 1985 when I was on the fire department with Rich. We were first, I don't like speaking in public, so sorry. So we went on to, we were born and raised in East Troy. And so I went on as a diver with East Troy Fire Department, went on, became a rescue diver, blah, 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 cavern diver, all that stuff. Now we are dive masters, and Rich reached out to us and asked us if we would volunteer to dive for you guys to see what's happening. I dove Lake Beulah a lot when I was younger, right off Mom and Pop House Pier, a lot, and dove in Booth Lake, Lulu Lake. So they asked us to dive. Well, you're going to see some results that we saw, and it's pretty amazing. We had a wakeboard boat. We had a 21-foot Super Aeronautique. We loved it. Beautiful boat. We noticed the damage it was doing, so we stopped. We sold it. It was a very expensive float for us to go sit and launch and just swim off of. So we sold it. So we really believe in these lakes. We love these lakes. Like I said, I was born and raised in East Troy. My parents ran Booth Lake, which is what we're running right now. My dad was the police chief with Rich Kuchenbecker. So we have a lot of ties to East Troy, and we want to see these lakes thrive. So I'll leave her speak. She's a better speaker right there.
Bonnie Moran. I grew up on Booth Lake as well. Still swam my whole life there. My dad lived on Lake Beulah, so we spent my whole childhood and adult life on these lakes. They've changed a lot, and you've seen a lot of changes, I'm sure, if you've been looking at the lakes. My experience in diving, I haven't been diving as long as Sean, but I also am a dive master. We dive all over, freshwater, saltwater, as much as we can, and we do a lot of photography when we do that, mostly me. So it's something, when Rich asked us to come out, it was something that is close to our heart. These lakes mean a lot to us, and we're definitely seeing a lot of changes in the lakes themselves. Like Sean said, we run Booth Lake Beach. We've seen changes in the water quality, their clarity, the amount of fish life that's near the shore. There's no crayfish, there's no clams, there's none of the things, the bullfrogs, all the things that we used to see in that lake, they're not there. So we're really interested in seeing what's going on. So that's why we agreed to dive and see for ourselves the effects that these boats are having, because we can see it from the surface, as Terra Vigila said, and we wanted to see for ourselves underneath the boat what was going on.
So do that. Describe to us what happens when a wake boat goes over the top of you and you're down under that water.
Well, we were shocked. The first pass they made, we could see all the bubbles coming up as the boat's coming. So we're trying to figure out what's going on. Why are we seeing all these bubbles coming up out of the weeds and the sediment? As the boat went past us, we could feel a down thrust. So it would drop us down, and then as it passed, it would lift us back up. And then a couple seconds later, you'd see the muck, you'd see the weeds come past us. You'll see one of our videos. It was a real weird feeling. You don't, me personally, I didn't expect to get pushed down and then sucked right back up. The first pass was made. We had safety divers behind us, like 10 feet watching us. We went ahead, we stayed away, and then the second run, we told Rich, we're like, if you feel comfortable, we're gonna put up our buoy, get as close as you can to it. Well, he went over the top of us, and you're gonna see, you'll see a shadow, and then you're gonna see prop wash. And after that prop wash goes by, we go down, we come up, and then you're gonna see all this sediment come right past us. We're not stirring anything up. This is all the boat. And I'm gonna show my dive computer, and it's gonna say I'm at 16 feet. Well, I'm 2 feet off the bottom. So, you're gonna see that.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll take a look at the video that he's describing. Play that right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you can play sound with that, but the sound, I think would help.
Here he's showing his watch that his watch is at 16 feet.
When the boat comes over, it's like if you've ever been near a road when a lot of
This is the first pass. He doesn't go right over us the first one. We asked him to go on the next one.
that red is the lens cap for the camera.
That's us getting pushed down and coming up, trying to get our balance again. You can see we just stand to see what happened in the weeds. He's gonna, you'll hear him circling around. You can see some sediment coming up. He was probably about 10 feet from us when this one went over. You're gonna see, he's gonna come right over the top. You're gonna see a shadow, you're gonna see white, and then you're gonna watch.
What I was going to say earlier is it feels like when a group of motorcycles goes by you and you can feel the rumble, that's what it feels like underneath there. We feel all of that.
You can see all the little fish swimming around. And here he comes. You see a shadow. There's the shadow. There's the prop wash. We go down and this comes blowing past us. And we're trying to get our bearings again. And we're 2 feet off the bottom. And then you'll see me swim like 10 feet over. There's my safety diver, and then we hit the surface. So there's a lot of damage. And like I said, that's at like 18 feet. So,
And the wake surf industry is saying nothing happens below 10 feet. You can see here it does.
How did the fish react?
They move away. They move away temporarily and then they kind of come back. And you'll see that one of the videos that I'll talk about, you see that happen.
Should we play the next video right away? Or
Sure.
Okay, get out of the way.
So I think in this video is one of the ones that I took, and we just see a lot of sediment disruption and stuff in this boat, or in this video again, as the boat goes over. You could see the prop wash there as it went through the screen. You see the bubbles come up out of the weeds. And I'm probably 10 to 12 feet off to the side of where he went over. You just kind of see everything start to move around a little bit. Try to show, but my watch is not, I don't know what's going on with it. But this again was at that 16-foot mark. Sean and I were about 120 feet apart, and he had his safety diver, and then my safety diver was back behind me, about 4 feet above me.
And I was up above in the pontoon boat, and some of those weeds, the real long, stocky ones, were getting dislodged and were floating on the surface. There was about 20 of them that were floating around me just from those couple of passages. So you imagine if that's happening all day long.
So this next video is, I think, a little bit clearer, and there's a lot more fish life around me in this video. Again, I'm sitting on top of the charo weed. I'm sitting about 14 feet of water. You see Rich go over, you see the prop wash, you see the bubbles, you see everything. It's the second pass that really has the impact on this one. He gets a little bit closer to me. You see a lot of change. Here I'm swimming out, and you can see the V's made by the prop wash as it came down in the weeds. Now this is, keep in mind, this is 2 passes. It's not a lot of time over us, but the damage is already there. Shadow of the boat. Again, there's not a lot of sediment here. The weed cover is fairly thick. There's a plume of stuff that's been pulled out of the surface of the lake. Definitely a big change in the water clarity.
Yeah, and speaking of that, the first day that we went out, you only did one dive, and you immediately went up and said, we're done in this spot because there was a whiteout, because we were in an area where there wasn't as many weeds. Can you say a little bit about what that was like and the amount of turbulence?
I think that was an area we were at 25 feet deep, so we were down below the thermocline. The thermocline, throughout all of the times that we dove, the thermocline stayed at about 19 to 20 feet. So at 25 feet where we were below the thermocline. And if you don't know what the thermocline is, it's above the thermocline in the summer is much warmer water. I think the water was between 74 and 79 the times that we dove. When you get below the thermocline, the water temperature was about 62. So it's a big temperature difference. And at the thermocline, there's a big, it's where the warm water and the cold water meet. And so it's like a viscous water. You can see the thermocline as you go through it. And below the thermocline, you don't see the surface as well. And so we noticed a difference in the prop wash and the things below the thermocline, but we still saw a difference, and that's where we were on that first dive. And there's a lot of sediment release, and it caused a silt out, is what we call it in diving. it happens when the bottom gets disrupted and all the silt lifts off, and it got real dark and we couldn't see each other at all. So we came up and we said, we're done here.
Yeah, they went by, and the one pass, they went by. I had my safety diver behind me. I couldn't even see him anymore. It went through, and it was like you walk into a cave with no lights. You couldn't see this. So we call it silt out. You see a lot of that if you're get into a wreck or whatever, and the fins hit the sidewall and that, it'll silt you out. We couldn't see anything. They caught it on live scope. We came up and we're just like, we can't do anything. It's a waste of time.
So everything that we've been talking about so far has been their experience with the wake surf mode, surf boat in surf mode. But we also tested a tri-tune with a fairly large motor, an indoor-outdoor, a jet ski. Compare those vessels to what you experienced with the surf boat.
During the Terra Vigilis study, which is when we did all the different types of boats, the Terra Vigilis camera was in the center. I think we had about a 200-foot run that we were going over. I was at the entrance end and Sean was at the exit end. We were both about 50 to 75 feet away from the Terra Vigilis camera, so we're just on opposite ends and the camera's in the center. Sitting at the base of the beginning of the runs, I didn't get to see any of the startups because I wasn't in that water column, but as we did all the runovers, which we would do a pass, they would circle around outside of the area and come back and do a second pass. I saw nothing with the exception of the wakeboard boat. You could hear them go over, you could see the shadow, but there was no movement at the 15-foot mark.
We did do one pass. The one day before we did it with them, we had a pontoon boat, and then I think Ryan's bass boat, I think he went over us. We didn't see anything. You couldn't see the prop wash. You could see the shadow of the boat, that's about it. But we didn't see any prop wash, we had no movement, we didn't feel anything. Honestly, you could barely even hear it.
Okay, so in your opinion, the bottom being disturbed in the different depths of 15, 20, and 25 feet, what do you feel should be the correct bottom depth for being a safe wake surf operation? Or is
I can tell you, I'm not a biologist, I'm not whatever. My personal feeling, I would say over 25 feet. Because we did see disturbance at 25 feet. We did have the silt out. We did see impact down there. We did have, you did feel it, and it's affecting the bottom of the lake. And if it's going down through 25 feet, and it's going through that thermocline, again, I'm not a specialist, but I would think that it's screwing up your thermoclines. I don't know, I'm not a specialist, but if I'm seeing damage down there, I would think it would be doing it. I can't tell you the truth, but that's my feeling.
I would agree with that. I think 25 feet would be the better of the depths.
Lowest of the depth.
Would you guys be willing to take other divers down and give them the same kind of experience?
Yeah, if they're willing to go under a boat. I mean, this is something that we did because we're curious, right? It's an educational thing. So, yeah, I think it's really eye-opening to see it and feel it for yourself. And I think that I wasn't expecting what happened. And the first time Rich went close to us with the wakeboard boat, we really got thrown out of our spot because we weren't prepared. And after that, we kind of prepared. We came up and said, "Hey, Rich, like, come a little closer to us, because even though you were far away, like, we really got moved." And so that's when we started to put our sausages up and change the way that we were doing things. And each time that we've dove, which we've done 3 different days of diving, we've learned something. So it's really interesting. And I think if any of you are divers and you want to come see it for yourself, you're welcome to come with.
I know I personally was very impressed by the professionalism that you guys brought to this study, the way that you were able to communicate what you were seeing and feeling. So I thank you. The wake surf industry and their coalition is very networked. And unfortunately, the day after we did this study, there was an email that was sent out to wake surfers across the state of Wisconsin telling them how they should respond to our research that we were doing on Lake Beulah. And they said that the research should be discredited because the divers were amateurs and that they didn't have the right credentials, and that they were agitators looking to create discussion and topic. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, for me, like I said, we were curious. So when we were approached, we said, yes, we want to see what it's doing to the bottom of the lake. We are not professional photographers. We are dive masters, so that is the entry level for professional divers. And we enjoy diving and we care about the lakes. That's why we did this. We didn't do it. We never expected to be sitting here. I can tell you that for sure. But curiosity got us, and we wanted to see what was happening with our own eyes. And I think that was really eye-opening and educational. And the evidence is there. Follow the evidence.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you, you can take it for what you want, but I've been diving since '85. Rich knows I was on dive teams for the fire department that I worked for. So we got a lot of time under our belt in the water. A lot of wreck dives, a lot of cavern dives, a lot of not so fun dives. But we are serious divers. We practice buoyancy all the time. We practice everything every time we're in the water. We just don't go out and just swim. So you take it for what you want.
Yep.
I can tell you, we're experienced divers. And if you guys really want to come out, we'd be more than happy to take you down. I trust Rich with my life. I've known Rich my whole life, and I know that's kind of scary, but we grew up together. We grew up together, his family and my family. So we wouldn't put you in harm's way. But if you have any questions, you know.
So one of the requests that we got from the town is the town wanted to see local data. They wanted to see data on Lake Beulah. I don't think it gets any more local than this, than having you guys come and be a testimony for what's happening. So I, on behalf of Protect Lake Beulah and the management district, want to thank you guys for your
Tom, they want you to make that announcement.
Okay, well,